Last week was the 31st anniversary of the original Sonic the Hedgehog being released on the Sega Genesis, and we also saw the release of Sonic Origins on basically every platform. Let's check it out. Sonic Origins is a compilation pack of the 16-bit era Sonic games. It contains Sonic 1, 2, Sonic CD, and Sonic 3 and Knuckles. For old farts like me, this is a shot of classic nostalgia right in the arm. And for newer gamers, it'll offer a chance to check out some legendary classics on a modern platform with some updates for accessibility. The first thing to mention, there are a lot of changes and additions, but if you want the original experience, you can still play the games in classic mode. This will use the original 4:3 aspect ratio, remove Knuckles from the first few games, and revert a lot of the other changes. So, what's different? Well, first, they stretched the games to fit a widescreen format aspect ratio for modern displays. There are a few parts, mostly in boss fights, where they added in some additional stage elements like walls that rise up from the floor to keep the gameplay mechanics the same, but generally speaking, this is mostly just a visual change, and frankly, it's a welcomed one. Next, they added in a museum where you can go check out artwork, music, and cutscenes and stuff. Not super exciting, but it's there if that's your thing. They added in a few other things like a boss rush mode, a story mode where you play through all 4 games sequentially as Sonic with little story cutscenes, and a mission mode where you can try for some challenges like collecting rings within a time limit in a particular stage. There's also a mirror mode that's gated behind DLC, where you can play through the levels backwards. Little additions to keep things fresh and interesting, but nothing that's fundamentally groundbreaking. The main attraction is the Anniversary mode for the 4 main games. These are remakes of the originals that generally preserve the original graphics and gameplay, but give you unlimited lives, add the spin dash move and stuff into Sonic 1, and allow you to pick your character so you can, for example, play through Sonic 1 as Tails if you want. Now, a couple of the stages in Sonic 1 have some additional hidden areas that can only be accessed by Tails or Knuckles, so there's an exploration element that shouldn't be overlooked. They also added the Hidden Palace Zone back into Sonic 2, and I have a video up showing where to find it. The Anniversary mode also includes a coin system, where instead of 1-ups you earn coins. Since you have unlimited lives, they had to do something with that feature. These can be used to unlock things in some of the other game modes, like content in the museum, or most usefully in my opinion, you can use them to get a retry at one of the bonus stages if you screw it up without finishing and getting the Chaos Emerald. That's actually a pretty significant change, and it provides a pretty accessible safety net, but may also be seen as an enormous nerf to the difficulty of the bonus stages. Speaking of the bonus stages, since the games are no longer constrained by the hardware limitations of the Genesis, they all feature smooth scrolling and rotations now. Another big change, but in my opinion, it's a really good one. There's also a dedicated button to transform into Super Sonic after you have all the emeralds, so you can still jump and use Tails and Knuckles' abilities without transforming if you don't want to. Also, there are a bunch of new anime cutscenes that try to create and show a narrative plot to the games and link them together with some kind of continuity. For example, there's a sequence at the start of Sonic 2 that shows Sonic rescuing Tails from being picked on, as sort of an origin story for how they became buddies. Nice little additions, but nothing that's really, mandatory. So let's talk about what I like. I think the quality of life improvements in the Anniversary mode are a great addition to the game. I know that some purists are going to complain about the unlimited lives and being able to retry the bonus stages and stuff, but I think it makes the games a lot more accessible to casual players, and that isn't a bad thing. especially since the classic mode is still available for the hashtags #NoChanges crew. On that topic, it's important to remember something. Gaming has changed a lot over the last 30 years. Big shock, right? Back in the day when these games were new, most players had a console library of like 5 to 10, maybe 20 games at most, and we played the hell out of them because it's all we had access to. Steeper difficulty curves were the norm, and it was okay. To be clear, I've been playing Sonic since it first came out, and I've got physical copies of the classic titles and stuff, and personally, I don't have any problem with the more punishing difficulty curve. But I get it. Games are different now, and things like save features and a less cruel game over system have come to be expected in more modern titles, and I'm okay with that too. If those little quality of life boosts make the games accessible to a new generation that are coming up now and can enjoy these classic titles, that's only a good thing from where I'm sitting. I also really like the ability to play as Knuckles and Tails in the older titles. The additional roster of characters was one of the things that appealed most to me in Sonic Mania, and I'm glad to see that that feature was carried over into this collection as well. In my opinion, it adds a huge level of replayability to the games, as well as some basic novelty value. Really, it's a win-win. The smoother graphics during the bonus stages actually end up being kind of a big deal, and especially in Sonic 1, the bonus stages honestly feel completely different in how they play. Also, the addition of the in-game achievements is a nice touch, and it's fun to have some progression goals to work towards, even though these are more like arcade platformer type games at their core. The ability to save your progress ends up being a far more welcomed addition than I originally expected, since, as an adult gamer, I don't have enough time to sit down in one block and complete games like this from start to finish anymore, and the autosave lets you pick up where you left off without any fuss. Not bad, and a really good quality of life addition into these titles. Now for what I don't like. Well, the anime cutscenes are sometimes unskippable. I'm not really sure what triggers it. Maybe it's the first time you get to one, maybe it's something else, but the animated scenes break up the pace of the games in a way that I find a little annoying, but I also find difficult to explain. Similarly, my first time firing up the collection, it made me sit through a whole bunch of unskippable intro movies and cutscenes, which was really annoying. I also don't like that some of the content is gated behind DLC right out of the start. This is a trend in the larger gaming world over the last few years that I really don't care for. If you're gonna lock some of the content behind a DLC package, at least wait a few months before dropping it as a little expansion pack or something. Doing it on day one just looks like a cash grab, and it's kinda lame. Longtime fans of the series will also notice that some of the music in Sonic 3 was replaced for licensing reasons, and the new tracks, I don't really care for them. But if it's your first time playing, you probably won't notice anything off. So maybe just a personal pet peeve for me. Lastly, it kind of bugs me that they tease the Amy Rose character so prominently in the logo, cutscenes, and the promotional artwork and everything, but they didn't include her as a playable character. I realize that she wasn't part of the original playable roster or anything, and that's fine, but it would have been nice if she was unlockable. Not through a paid DLC, but as an achievement for completing all 4 of the games with all of the available characters or something like that. But unfortunately, despite being, presented front and center, Amy Rose is nowhere to be found. Overall, though, I have to give this collection a thumbs up. I think they did a great job of updating the titles for a modern audience without fundamentally changing the core gameplay elements or switching to a 3D rendered 2.5D graphics mode or anything like that. The new additions are more modernizing than transformational, and if you want the classic experience, it's still there as an option. Even though I own the originals, this collection will probably become my preferred way to enjoy these games. And if you're a longtime fan of the series, Sonic Origins will give you a convenient way to play the classics on modern hardware. While if you're new to the series or haven't ever played the originals, I think you'll be in for a treat. As always, thanks for watching.